Today I'm going to share with you a cool story on why you might want to grow your business by acquisitions versus organically with just sales and marketing. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name is Moran Pober. I'm the founder and CEO of acquisitions.com. We're the largest community of M&A entrepreneurs, investors, and people who just want to buy businesses and do roll-ups. We were involved in 100 plus transactions over the last 3 years and now looking to invest and partner with people on their acquisition and roll-up journey. So let me ask you this, if you're a business owner, will your company grow by acquisitions or only grow organically, right? If you're thinking about growing by acquisitions, I want to ask you why. Like, why are you wanting to grow by acquisitions? What are the benefits of growing by acquisitions versus organically? And organically, just for those of you who don't know, organically is basically just doing things internally with your existing team. So basically doing more sales, more marketing, hiring more people to your sales and marketing department, better product, better operations, better HR, better dealing with your finance and collection of capital and legals and whatnot. Versus when growing by acquisitions, when I mean growing by acquisitions, it means you're going out there, you look for companies that are similar to you, complementary competitors perhaps, and you buy them, you buy revenues, you grow by buying revenues, by getting access to better products or similar products or different products or better talent or just group of team that used to work together. That in itself is a big reason of why you might want to do acquisitions. And today I want to share with you a cool story that I've heard that I think would be really, really interesting for you to hear as well when it comes to understanding the world of acquisitions versus growing organically and what it looks like in bigger companies and smaller companies and some of the downside of why some companies only grow organically. And it starts by understanding that every growth will require an investment, right? So in the end of the day, if you want to be a $25 million company, you're probably going to have about $20 million of expenses, right? You'll need to hire people, buy inventory or whatnot. Or even if it's a growth by acquisitions, guess what? It costs money. If you're buying good businesses, it will cost you money. It's not necessarily need to be your money. You can use other people's money, but still you need to access capital of investors, of institutions. There is a cost for your investment. And now the question is, where do you get the most amount of return, right? Where do you get the most? And not just financially, but maybe also with the effort that it will take you to get those results. So I had a chat with a buddy of mine. He have a friend who is kind of like the head of sales in a public company out there. And he asked the head of sales is, hey, you want to grow this business? How much you want to grow it at? And the head of sales told him, my goal for the next year is about 10% of growth. But in reality, he said probably 8%, right? Because there's a forecast for 10 and we're going to get to at least 8. Well, in my book, if you're not growing at least 20%, it's like, why are you even putting an effort into something when it comes to growing your business? Think about it. Growing things organically, there's so much work involved, like hiring, retaining, training new employees, firing, right? There's a lot of process and work involved and headache when you hire, train, retain new employees into a business. So let's take a step back just to keep the numbers simple, right? That company, let's say, is doing 100 million, which is around those numbers. So the goal is to grow by 10%. That's the forecast, right? But in reality, they're probably going to grow by 8 million, right? So 8% additional to the 100 million, about 8%, 8 million growth in revenues. That's kind of like the actual numbers that they're probably going to meet next year. And that's to remind you, only by growing organically, just doing sales and marketing, no acquisitions at all. Every growth opportunity, sales and marketing in this case, have an opportunity cost. My buddy asked that head of sales, so what's the opportunity cost here? Like, how much is it going to cost you to grow by 8 million, right? So he told him, it will cost me about 3 to 4 million just to hire, train, retain, and potentially fire some of those people in the next year, right? If you want to get to 8 million in sales for that line of business, you need to bring in new salespeople, new marketing people, right? So just the cost of new employees will cost him, just to keep the number simple, about $4 million out of the 8 million in revenues. And that's before the headache of managing them. Then he asked him, well, what else? Do you have other expenses on that? He told him, yeah, we have marketing expenses. We need to advertise every month on Google, on Facebook. It's at least $100,000 a month that we're spending on advertising to get to that 8 million. Right, which is a very good ROI when you're thinking about it. So let's say you're spending about $1 million or $1.2 million to get to 8. Makes sense, right? Basically, remember, we're growing by 8 million. 4 of that already left for paying employees. At least 1 to 2 million goes to advertising costs. What about the cost of goods to deliver the product or service? What about admin expenses or any other expenses like rent and whatnot? It will cost you because you need to hire so many more people when you grow organically. And of course, taxes, right? Obviously, you're going to pay some taxes on that. I'm not saying that on acquisitions you're not going to pay taxes and profits from acquisitions, but look at the headache that it took you, in this case, to grow organically, to grow the business in 8 million in revenues, but the overall profit is what? Like, you're lucky if you're left with 10% profit of that. And how much headache you have and how much risk you took. How do you know that you're going to get great returns on your advertising cost? Who promised you that at scale you'll make more? No one. Isn't it easier to just relax, take a step back, and just acquire those businesses instead of dealing with so many people? So in reality, a company like that, public company, very good public company, they're basically putting so much effort, so many people are working and headache and whatnot to pretty much grow in almost a breaking even structure. And when my buddy asked him, why you're not buying businesses? Why are you not just trying to grow by acquisitions? You know what he said? He basically said, there's no way I can grow by acquisitions that fast. And remember, those people, especially executives and whatnot in public companies, they have big egos. Like, they're working with their 3-piece suit and whatnot. By the way, if you like the story so far, guys, let me know in the comments below. We'll do giveaway for Amazon gift cards. And if you like that story, let me know and I'll try to do more stories in the future on acquisitions and roll-ups and whatnot. So that person said, we can't grow by acquisitions. And the question is why? Like, there are enough businesses out there. And there are constantly new businesses coming into the market all the time. Always. There's always a cycle of new businesses starting from scratch. Some of them are going to make it. Some of them are going to hit 1 million, 10 million, etc., etc. You're always going to have a cycle of more businesses. There are tons of businesses available out there to acquire. And by one deal, like if you're buying one good business, you can grow at that amount of revenues at least. Obviously, it depends on your cost of capital and whatnot to determine the margin and the profit you're left with. But you can grow by at least that kind of revenues talking to just one person, the business owner. If you have the access to capital, assuming that they're a public company, they already have the capital. They don't even need to talk to financial institutions or investors, right? And the real answer, in my opinion, is that they're not growing by acquisitions. First of all, because no one even knows the process that well. They're not excited about that. Or just the head of sales will just won't have a job if they grow by acquisitions. So that's one side of the story. On the other side, I want to tell you a story that I had. Talking to an executive of a very fast-growing company being backed by some of the biggest VCs in Silicon Valley. It's pretty fascinating to hear that. If I mention the name, probably some of you are familiar with them, especially with their VCs 100%. And what that executive told me is that the company is growing so fast only by acquisitions. The executive told me everything internally is in such a mess, but the outside world don't care because we're growing so fast. So the share price, the stock basically goes up. It's a private company, but I'm just saying overall, the revenue, top line numbers definitely go up. The bigger the business, the faster its growth, the more it's going to be valued at, right? So you could basically be considered as a growth stock or whatnot and receive a great multiple in the new raises of capital and whatnot, or even when they go public. And they're only doing it by acquisitions. That's why, of course, when you're growing so fast with so many businesses, you got to have good fundamentals in place to make sure that everything is aligned. That's one of the things we're doing with people we work on roll-ups, is to make sure that there are no breakpoints, that there are basically super understanding and alignment between all those businesses. The last thing you want is to own one business that is a messy and then buy 10 more messy businesses. You only end up with 11 messy businesses instead of one robust business that is very aligned and robust and can grow together in a way that makes sense. So here's one example of a company that isn't growing by acquisitions at all and is only growing organically and is afraid or don't know about the idea of growing by acquisitions. And then there's another company that only grows by acquisitions and everything internally is a bit of a mess. What would you pick? What's right? What's wrong? I would say there is no right or wrong. It's just a combination and understanding that business in the end of the day is a reflection of the people in the business. And in the end of the day, if the people in the business don't understand, if the people in the business are in a mess, then the business will reflect that. And if the people in the business only know about acquisitions, the business will probably grow by acquisitions. If they know nothing about acquisitions, the business won't grow with acquisitions. What is the right answer? I think it's a combination of both. You want to grow by acquisitions, making sure that as you do that, everything is robust internally with your main first platform company. So then when you grow, you can expand those systems, processes into those new companies that you're buying or merging into your main one. Anyway, I thought it will be cool, interesting stories for you to hear about very successful companies out there that made a lot of money to their shareholders, just to show you that even big businesses are in a mess and everyone got their own challenges. And my wish for you is that you'll deal with some of those challenges as well, because there is no checkpoint in the end of the day when you're an entrepreneur. There's always the next level. And it's just making a decision of what is the path that you want to take, if it's acquisitions or organic, if it's both, and just the idea of playing the game for the sake of playing it, because what else we got to do? So anyway, hope you enjoyed that, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon.